Well, greetings. This is Dr. Bill Bailey, and this is VirtZine. VirtZine is the online magazine of virtualization and cloud computing, and I'm glad you could join us for this week's edition of VirtZine. We come out not every week, but semi-occasionally, as I have enough items to talk about virtualization and cloud computing, and we got some good stuff to talk about this go-round. So we'll get right into that. First of all, I do want to say that we are proud members of the Tech Podcast Network, techpodcast.com. If it's tech, it's right here on the VirtZine Netcast. We're also proud members of the International Association of Internet Broadcasters. So you can find our show all around the web in so many different places. But in this particular netcast, VirtZine, we talk about virtualization and cloud computing. Now, I'm a VMware engineer, Citrix engineer, and also Red Hat Linux support engineer over at our local hospital, regional hospital in the area. And so I wear a lot of hats, not to mention the red hat back here for Red Hat computing. But at any rate, I had a situation at work where we had a vCenter console that's been around for, this particular box has been around for about, well, we're coming up on about 7 years that this box has been running. And it's been our vSphere console, control management console for all of that time. It's gone through several upgrades and iterations of the software, but the box was aging out. Okay, I mean, you can imagine. In the corporate world, that's a long time to have a box to be running like that. So one of the things that I had considered was virtualizing this box, P2V, physical to virtual. Virtualizing the box so that the vCenter console was actually virtual. Okay, now there's some advantages and disadvantages to that. Obviously, if you're running it on the same cluster that it's managing, that can lead to some interesting issues, all right? But we have several clusters, and so I'm running this vCenter console for the production cluster. I'm running over on the view cluster, okay? So that mitigates one of the issues that might come up, all right? But at the same time, when it came time to P2V it, I used the P2V tool that VMware has. Normally, I just run it, and I P2V a system, and boom, it's done. I mean, it's pretty quick. You can do it while the other system is up and running, and it works very well. Unless it's a vCenter console, and then it fails. Why? Because you are, think about it, you're P2V'ing using a tool that's tying into the vCenter console that you're actually trying to P2V. So think of all the conflicts that's going on there, right? Problems. So I got to thinking about it, and I did a little research, and I found out that there is a way to do it, and a way to do it easily, or at least more easily, and better than any other way I've found, all right? If you don't have a second cluster, a separate independent, managed by another vSphere console cluster, you can vMotion all of your guests off of one host in your cluster, all right? Then make it a standalone host so that it's completely disconnected from the cluster, and then P2V by pointing to that one single host that's no longer part of the cluster. Do you see what I'm saying? That works very well. So I started out to do that, and then I realized, wait a minute, I've got this whole other cluster. I want the virtualized vSphere console to run on this other cluster anyway. So I then said, all right, I'm going to just go ahead and use it, the other cluster, and P2V to that. Now, at the same time, the box that was running as the vCenter console system was SAN attached, all right, and it was running actively the entire production cluster. So all of the hosts in vSphere can run independently without the vCenter console, fortunately, okay? So I shut down the services on the vCenter console system, which include things, and I've got a list here in the VirtZine blog, which is at VirtZine.com, as it says there on the screen. And there's such things as the SQL Active Directory Helper Service, SQL Backup Agent, SQL Server Agent. There's a long list here. Then the VMware Snapshot Provider, Syslog Collector, USB Arbitration Service, vCenter Orchestrator, Configurator, all of those things. Shut those services down manually. So now the server is up. In my case, still SAN attached, obviously. And all the drives from the SAN are mounted as drive letters. Okay. But all of these services are then shut down manually. Now at this point the server is static. All these services are stopped. Then you can begin the P2V process, which in my case took about an hour, okay, because there was a lot of data there. And what it was literally doing was pulling the data off of the SAN into localized virtual drives on the new P2V'd virtual machine in the other cluster. You see what I'm saying? Now once I did all of that, I was able to physically shut down the old 7-year-old box that was running vCenter console and then power up the system that I had P2V'd. Now I had to make sure it was in the same VLAN, you know, and all those good things. But once I brought it up, it remembered who it was, you might say. Look at it that way. And it picked right on up, and there were a few little tweaking things I had to do, but for the most part, it was done. Now that's pretty impressive. And it's worked out very well, and we haven't had a hiccup since. So, just wanted to share that experience with you as to how we took a physical vSphere console server and virtualized it. All right, and I've got all the instructions there in the VirtZine blog. All right, now the next item we want to talk about here is that Google has dropped the price of their monthly Google Drive, and all of these plans' prices have changed for the better. They're much, much cheaper. Now this is cross-posted from my drbill.tv blog, but it's basically an article quoted from the Google 9 to 5 blog, all right? So that's the source. And Jordan Kahn from Google 9 to 5 wrote here that Google has announced today on its blog that it's lowering the monthly pricing plan to offer it offers for users buying extra storage on Google Drive. Google attributes this change to recent infrastructure improvements that's allowing it to offer more affordable storage plans. Now, here's what I think's going on. I think we're talking about a lot of competition that's happening between Dropbox and Box and Google Drive and Microsoft's new OneDrive, they used to call SkyDrive, all the different cloud providers. The competition is increasing, and that is good for consumers. That's good for us, because as the price keeps dropping, you can imagine it's going to get easier and easier to move stuff to the cloud. Now, 15 gig of Google Drive is still free, but the 100 gig level has dropped from $4.99 a month to $1.99 a month. Now that's pretty good. That's affordable, all right, for a lot of people. Then the 1 terabyte plan is $9.99 a month. That's remarkable. 1 whole terabyte in the cloud for $9.99 a month. Then for $99.99, 10 terabyte plus. I don't know what that means, whether that's infinite or what. But the plan has obviously gotten much better for this particular service for cloud computing, Google Drive. I'm telling you, that is, I think it bodes well for the future, personally. I think the prices of cloud computing is going to continue to come down, and it's going to be more and more attractive for smaller and smaller businesses and individuals that want to store their data securely in the cloud. And that's going to be the key, is proving that they can do it securely and not lose that data. It needs to be secure in every way. All right. Now, there's also this article, a new version of Zen now has better ARM support. Now, this is the Zen project and the Zen hypervisor, which Citrix has released free now. It's totally open source, totally free, even for what you would call the production level version is free. Zen 4.4, the open source product or project, has released this, and it brings better virtualization support to ARM platforms. And ARM is something that is just sweeping the server community. More and more people are building servers based on ARM, and therefore these products are beginning to migrate in that direction. They run cooler, they're cheaper, they're powerful, so ARM processors are getting more and more popular, and then having a hypervisor like Zen here right to that is helping them gain a foothold as a hypervisor. And of course they're free. I mean, that's good too. But anyway, the Zen project, a group within the Linux Foundation that's pushing the development of the Zen hypervisor, on March 10th, announced the availability of version 4.4 of the open source technology, which includes, among other performance enhancements, wider support for ARM-based server platforms. Zen's been able to support, get my tongue untied, to support ARM-based systems on a chip since last year, but the new release will give system makers a better tool for bringing virtualization to ARM-based servers, according to officials within the Zen project. Virtualization and low-powered servers are leading companies to rethink the data center and its potential for efficiency, according to Lars Kurth, chairman of the Zen Project Advisory Board. One solution contains IT-related costs plus meets the security, or our solution, I should say, contains IT-related costs plus meets the security and scalability needs of today's elastic cloud, mobile, and social networking companies. The latest updates continue the project's track record of rich collaboration and widespread development for many of the world's technology leaders. That's a quote from Lars Kurth. So, really good things happening on the hypervisor front. I still am torn how much the containerized virtualization is going to impact the hypervisor world, but we'll see how that pans out. And you can bet we'll be covering it right here on VirtZine. So remember, until next time, to keep your head in the cloud.